Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new style of Jenny Town Hall, where we're going to be meeting in the Metaverse this time. I think we've accumulated a very nice collection. And rather than talking about overall strategy for the Jenny DAO this time, I think we'll be talking more about some of the beautiful pieces that we've got. We've got also in our team, I'll go inside where it's not raining. It's going to be a little bit quieter. Here we go. We've also got B123, who's been a very active community member on the curation committee. And a lot of the pieces that you'll be seeing today have been selected thanks to his stewardship. Hey, B123, how are you?
I'm doing very fine. And what do we see here as is this the first ape we bought?
That is correct. We've got two apes. They've gone up a lot in price since we bought them. And since the ape drop, I think we have almost $500,000 worth of ape, which is sitting inside the DAO, which we have not claimed yet. But when we claim, I think could be used for whatever purposes the DAO thinks is fit. Hey, Sleazy.
Hey, hey.
How are you? Welcome to our first Jenny Town Hall in the Metaverse.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool. So Sleazy has also been a very active member in the DAO, part of our curation council. So the next piece here that you see up the staircase is by Drifter Shoots, who's recently been a very popular artist. I think we got him right when he started going parabolic. B123, Sleazy, either one want to comment on that one?
Yeah, there's an ex-military, and he had some problems with his past. And what he did was climbing high buildings in America to forget about his past and making pictures while he's doing. And he had some problems, and he went to jail. He had some he had spent some time, but when he came out, he tried to sell his NFTs, and he became really successful. But his first NFTs were worth around 10 ETH, and right now they're going up between 50 and 60 ETH. And we were at the beginning of that.
I think that was a very good investment. I'm terrified of heights, and I think there's a lot of emotions in these photographs, like good art usually should be. And this artist himself is somebody who's gone through a lot of emotions after, I think, trauma from the Iraq War, if I remember. And it's I think we also spotted him at a very good time.
Yeah.
We'll go up the staircase here. Here's a piece this is Carpoolers by Alejandro Cartagena. He's a friend of the Jenny DAO. He's been invited on one of our podcasts. Now, who's the culprit who was responsible for buying this one?
I think we both actually see.
Excellent.
What we see here is one of there are five out around 50 pieces of them of NFT, and it's one of the best. The color corresponding with the sweater, you can wondering what is happening, where are they going? There is asleep, and this is really OG NFT photography art.
So he was on the top of a bridge taking photos of Mexican workers going into the US, crossing the border every day.
Yeah, and he's not using really a lot of digital work, so it is really one chance, one shot every time. So he was really lucky to make this shot.
And I think this was a collection of 50 photos, is that correct?
Yeah, it is.
And you selected this one, which actually at the time was, I think, the most expensive photo on sale. But you thought it was the best, and maybe just tell us why.
Yeah, it is the most expensive one of the Alejandro. That's true. It is really about the colors, about the perspective, about the frame, the cleanness, and all together it makes it really special.
Yeah, I think there's symmetry. I think you really like that red turban. I guess it's a sweatshirt, but it looks like a turban, which matches the color of the car. There's the driver in the front with his arm out, which is a pretty nice little addition. I guess it's got symmetry with the mirrors on the side. So this is also beauty. I think it's going to be a museum piece someday.
Oh, this already is, but the cool thing is we have it one-at-one in an NFT. and you can buy about 5 or 10 editions sold in real life, but we have the one-on-one NFT, the only one.
I just noticed here, I'm pointing at the rope. The rope is also red. You've got red rope, red
Yeah,
turban, red car. A lot of color coordination going on here.
yeah, it is.
And here, this airplane is a piece by Jeff Milstein. I think he's published in pretty much every magazine you can possibly think of, right? So he's been in New York Times, I think, in GQ, Esquire. Like he's been in a whole bunch of publications. And his background was in architecture, but he's also has a pilot license. And so a lot of his pictures are either of airplanes or of architecture taken from the sky, which is I guess takes a lot of life experience and different skill sets that he has into his artwork.
And we hosted also an AMA with Jeffrey Milstein, where it explains a lot about his background and how he makes his photos. And Sleazy and I had quite some discussion about his work because you have a lot of cool photos. And what you see here is the Hello Kitty from under the side. It is an Hello Kitty print on the airplane, and I thought it is really cool to have this one.
Yeah. I always wonder why Hello Kitty doesn't do an NFT. That would be a perfect one. But
Yeah,
until that happens, the airplane's going to be the second best thing you can get.
yeah.
Now this is a really cool one, and I've been getting a lot of offers on OpenSea. People wanted to purchase this piece. It's by Ugur Araz, Big Bubble. Who wants to comment on that one? Or maybe I will.
No, I can tell you, it is a Turkish fashion photographer. He's not in a famous in a way for for museums or so, but he's quite a coming up a museum, quite a coming up fashion photographer. And we really like this pose. We really like the girl, the bubble. It is really arrogant is not a good way, but there's something going on. So there's something, and really get attracted by the girl.
I agree. I think the pink bubble gum makes it look very pop. The title, the big bubble, I think is a good fit for the what we're experiencing in the crypto NFT world.
Oh yeah,
His collections are very erotic, but in a very pleasant, mild way. His photographs are film based, not digital, if I'm correct.
yeah, that's true.
And so it almost feels like like very old school Playboy type of themes, but I think in a much more appropriate type of context. Um, and we had a marketing person called Lucy who contacted Ugur, and apparently he agreed to take photographs of her.
Oh, cool.
So she was also very happy about that. So he's also a very good friend of the Jenny DAO. Now this is my personal favorite, and I've got one as my profile picture currently. This is James Mollison, who took photographs of apes around the world over time and gives them very standard, photo ID type of dimensions. And in the NFT world and PFPs, we've seen this fascination with apes. Uh, we're all apes. It's become a verb, aping into coins. We've got cyber Kongs. We've got Bored Apes, obviously. On Solana, there's Monkey Kingdom. So apes has really become a cultural symbol within the whole crypto space. But we've kind of forgotten that there's actually real apes out there in the world, and having PFPs as a real apes, which is in NFT form, I think has been a beautiful form of art.
And the cool thing is there are still a couple free to buy, about 10 or 15. they're still at the floor price. So when you're fast today, you can buy still one.
This one I like a lot because of the color of the eyes also. Those orange eyes are really beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
So I'll continue. This is a bit of a glitch. We've got a second drifter shoes, but here we'll be seeing a punk, not just any punk. This is one that we've been using for a long time as it's one of the first NFTs that we bought in the collection. And it's first of all a female and a pilot. So the Jenny logo that we used at the beginning was the inverted airplane, which was a stamp that came out very early on, which was the inverted Jenny, which was accidentally printed upside down back in the day when every print on a color, every different color in a print was printed separately, and somebody just messed up the printing process and put the paper the wrong way around. So you had the number, the price of the stamp written one way and the airplane printed the other way. And because of its rarity, stamps historically have been the largest asset that people use for collections, and collectibles are valued for their rarity. And this is definitely true within the NFT space, but has been true throughout all of history. And this is why we use the Jenny stamp as the logo and the name for the Jenny DAO. And the fact that we found a punk, which is also a female pilot, I think fit in very well with this context of aviation and having a female name and having an NFT based investment DAO. And here, this one is, I believe, Junya Watanabe, who made a collection called here's Akihabara After Dark. Sleazy, why don't you tell us a bit about this one?
Yeah, I'll speak on this one a bit. So Junya Watanabe is one of those photographers that has a bit of a real life following in and around Japan and Tokyo, and more recently decided to make his transition or play in the NFT world and released this really interesting collection of experiencing Tokyo at night. And some of the photos were of the city streets and of areas and corners and such. But I really appreciated this one, and I think B123 agreed, just because it captured this mood of like a worker leaving the city or going into the city, and the rain and the weather experience sort of added to the emotional tone of it. And it's looking like Genia's collection is getting a lot more traction since we purchased this a couple months ago.
Excellent. I lived 10 years in Japan, and I feel very emotionally attached to this picture. And for one thing, you know, in Japan, people always carry umbrellas. I'm terrible at carrying umbrellas because I lose them all the time. So I never keep an umbrella for more than a day. I leave in the morning with an umbrella, and I rarely come back at home in the evening with it. But in Japan, everybody has an umbrella. I grew up in Vancouver also, where it's raining all the time, and nobody ever has umbrellas. People just have hoodies. I think this image of the man walking almost like a monk, with instead of a big hat, having the umbrella. He seems to be on a business trip with a suitcase. I think there's a lot of beauty in this picture as well. Let's move on to the floor upstairs. You can see it's still raining outside, but nobody here in the metaverse has umbrellas unless we buy them as NFTs. So here we've got a Fedenza, which is actually, I think, a pretty reasonable Fedenza. It's got a lot of variation, a few colors. This was also one that we bought very early on. I think when we wrote our strategy for Jenny DAO, I think we had the intention to be buying more art blocks. Maybe B123, do you want to comment on whether that's still the case and what you think of that trend in general?
When we started, when the Jenny DAO started, was really focused at, let's say, the classical PFPs. So we started with the punks, we started with the apes, we started with the art blocks. I think we have around 10 or 12 squiggles. And for example, this work. But what we saw about 3, 4 months ago, that you really had to face from the classical PFPs, that from other markets were coming up, more emerging markets, let's say from the gaming, the fashion and photography. This is where we decided that as a DAO, it is impossible to buy all the blue chips at the 100 ETH, 200 ETH prices. That it is more also more fun to discover the emerging markets and to have really a strong role there. And so what we see is also with photography, for example, as a DAO, we voted there to have a budget to make that clear that you can really make a splash. So right now, I think we're now in the top five with our footprint of with photos. So we have a really an influence, and that makes us as a DAO also stronger. So that is, I think, where the diversification is coming from.
Yeah, we've been very early in the photography scene, and I think that's largely thanks to you. A year ago, there were some photographers who approached us and wanted us to buy their pieces. And back then, NFT photography wasn't really a thing, and it was very difficult to convince the community and people in general that photography NFTs was worth spending money on. And things don't change linearly in blockchain. I think things always move in a like a staircase. And now we see NFT photography is really all the rage. And I give a lot of credit to people like Whale Shark for really being one of the first to be very vocal about this change and to really be promoting a lot of photographers this aggressively.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but also thanks to our own curation council, I think, which was very early to spot this new trend and which was able to connect with the best trusts and the best organization within the NFT photography space and let us acquire some of the best pieces. So who are the some of the organizations in the photography space that we've been very close to?
Right now, we're working really well with Fellowship, for example, and with Assembly. There are two of say marketplaces who help to bring photographers to the NFT world, and they help us to learn and to what other photographers are coming. So we help each other in that way. So with Fellowship and Assembly, we have really strong contacts.
Yeah, and
To
I
hear,
just add to that, we have a bit lesser of a relationship, but still a relationship with Quantum, which is probably the most well performing collective of photographers and photography in the metaverse. And so we do have contacts with Justin, etc., over there.
Yeah.
excellent. So next in line, we've got the Rocket Factory by Tom Sachs. This is the Campbell Soup one. Now, the interesting thing about this collection is that some large corporates have been adding it to their collections. So I think the first one was Budweiser, which bought the Budweiser rocket. There was also recently another big corporate that bought one of them. I can't remember. Do you guys remember which one that was? Anyways, one of
No.
them. And you can assemble the rockets. And after you've, Chanel, maybe somebody wrote in the text group, might have been. Anyways, you can assemble the three different components: the tail, the body, and the nose into a rocket, and then you can then use that NFT to apply to get an actual physical rocket. And then it'll be about this tall, and then he'll go out and wherever in Central Park in New York or wherever Tom Sachs hangs out, and then he'll let off the fuse and let the rocket fly into the sky and return you the physical piece. We've never assembled them. We've also never applied for the physical components. But either whoever it is who decides to bid for this piece in the future might be able to do so, or maybe in the future might even consider having a Jenny Dow event with Tom Sachs where we decide to receive a physical rocket. Next, we've got a squiggle. It's not animated, but I think everybody knows what a squiggle is. This is also a piece that we bought very early on. And then here we've got some classics. So we've got the Meebits. We've got a Baby Kong. I think Baby Kong is a cool project, which is going to be running around the banana coin on Sandbox. And then we've got a Meridian. And what I really like about this Meridian is the texture. So it kind of has this sandpaper type of texture. And then when you see it in the animated version, almost working like a sand clock, I think it brings this kind of temporal context to the artwork, which is really beautiful in a way.
Yeah, a really good classical example of an AI art. It is really, really, really good. Always from Madesauer, this is one of my favorites. This launch.
Yeah.
And you can buy it also. We never did it, but you can buy it also as a print. You will sign it, and you can. We never did it. You can have a digital of it.
No way. Okay. So maybe that's one we should offer as a lottery to our community as well.
Oh, this is maybe something to do for launch for a first year anniversary. This is a really, really good gift and really worthwhile.
That's true. It's the 1 year anniversary of Jenny Dow coming up. It's been a lot of work for the past year, but I think we've really accomplished a lot. What you see here in this gallery today is just a fraction of all the NFTs that we have collected. There's been a lot of thought that's gone behind the process of what to acquire and how to acquire and what price to acquire. And I think by now we really have a beautiful collection, very diversified, with some excellent PFPs, with some excellent photography pieces. I think, as you said, probably globally one of the top 5 NFT photography collections. And this is really thanks to the whole community who have supported us with the token and very early on, and with advice and all kinds of things. But I think really the 2 people I owe the most thank you to is B123 and Sleazy, who've really put a lot of work into putting all this together.
You're welcome. And I think you have also to thank ROVE to help us to build this.
Yes. So there have been a few virtual galleries where you can walk around and display your NFTs. ROVE is the first one I've actually seen where you can be both inside the metaverse and also interact with other people. And so for the purpose of this town hall, to not make it too messy, I asked you guys to join on StreamYard and let me walk around through ROVE. But it would be possible for us to be completely putting StreamYard aside and only talking in ROVE, which is really the direction that the metaverse should be taking. And this is a really cool platform. It's the best I've seen so far. So that's it. Are there any closing comments? And maybe CCB123, you guys want to comment on what you think is next in terms of our purchases?
Fashion and luxury. I think we bought some, and I think a lot of us coming up with fashion and luxury, and also with gaming. So we're behind the screens working hard, and the next couple of weeks we can tell more about it.
Yes. So luxury is a really interesting one. I think it's a very new theme. So we're very early on the photography theme, and we're early on the Bored Apes. I think we might be early on a big theme in luxury. Where do you see that going exactly, and what do you think would be the interesting areas to be observing?
Now, for example, this week Dolce & Gabbana is coming, and I'm really curious what is happening there. The big brands are coming to the market, but the problem or the solution is about the land. So where do you want to show what you bought? Is it Decentraland? Is it the Sandbox? Is it in the digital AR world for your Zoom? That is not clear yet, and that makes it also really interesting.
So we've bought two pieces, I believe. One piece is earrings,
Yeah.
which
Mhm.
you can use as an NFT in AR. So it could be on a Zoom call, for example, and
Yeah.
have the
It's,
earrings, which I think
yeah.
is a pretty cool
Yeah.
idea.
It's already
Is
used. And another one is from an Australian designer, a dress. And that is also AR capable. And we bought the monolith from Artifact in Nike, where we don't know yet what will be coming. But one thing is sure, it will be really interesting.
it's a very good bridge between Web 2 and Web 3 because in Web 2 you've got a picture of yourself like on Zoom. In Web 3, usually it's all in the metaverse, where you're some avatar and nobody even knows who you are. But people still have Web 2 lives and people still conduct regular Zoom meetings. And to be able to still have vanity NFT Web3 items, which is a display of your social status in the crypto world, and combine that in AR with your Zoom calls, is a very interesting concept. Um,
And when
I
when
think.
that is when it is coming up, I will show my face.
I see. Yeah, I don't know if you're a real person. You might be some AI bot out there.
I work for Louis Vuitton.
How about you, Sleazy? You have any more thoughts on where we should be heading?
Yeah, I think the jewelry play is going to be really interesting, especially because it's just a very obvious and overt way of signaling like the sort of like social proof that happens with NFTs. And it's just going to be curious to see how we enter and move in the metaverse beyond Zoom. It'd be really cool if you could see someone wearing jewelry walking through this art gallery, for example. I'm really curious to see how that goes. And I think a lot of fashion designers are going to take a lot of risks and be very creative with what clothes mean. I think it's going to move beyond just like a shirt and pants or dresses into like wearing ideas basically. And so what we're seeing already has been really interesting, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
So I'm a terribly unfashionable person in real life, but maybe in the metaverse I've got a chance to make up for it and finally become that cool fashionable person.
Definitely, definitely.
All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for your time and happy anniversary.
You too.
See you guys.
See ya.